Welcome back, Commander. Is this the final news update for Mass Effect Legendary Edition? Well, the game is officially released tomorrow, or it might be already released by the time you watch this, and yet we still have news. Coming up, multiplayer could be making a return, and early impressions from the big gaming sites. If this is your first time here, I make videos on Mass Effect, and I already have a ton of videos on my channel, so make sure you check them out once you finish this one. Mass Effect Legendary Edition is missing two elements from the original game. The first being the DLC Pinnacle Station, where you could win your own apartment in Mass Effect 1, and the other missing item is the Mass Effect 3 multiplayer. Pinnacle Station DLC appears to be lost, and I'll link a video at the end if you'd like to know more about this one. However, all hope might not be lost for multiplayer. The Mass Effect News Twitter feed showed a response from director Mac Walters when asked about multiplayer returning. The post reads, "Is there any possibility of Mass Effect 3 multiplayer mode, which isn't in the Legendary Edition, coming back in some form? I got super into it back then because you could try all different abilities and just zip around as an Asari or one of the other races." Walters replies with, "I would never say no to that. We want to see what kind of reception Legendary Edition gets and what the demand for multiplayer is, and then we'll ask ourselves if we have the resources and the time to bring it up to the quality of level that fans want." This is great news here on the channel. We stream Mass Effect multiplayer every Saturday, 9 PM British Standard Time or 4 PM Eastern. It's a great hangout session. I was quite disappointed when they didn't include it in the Legendary Edition. The reason for this is an interview with Mac Walters. On the topic of multiplayer, it was just really hard. Getting all of the online systems working and the functionality would have been another large chunk to do at the same time. There are a lot of other logistics involved. The economy is built quite differently. When questions came up like, do we support it post-launch? What about people who are still playing multiplayer today? Do we try to find a way to somehow cross-play between PS3 and PS4? With the work that would have been put into those logistics, the bulk of the project would have suffered, time-wise, and ultimately it was decided that multiplayer was not the road bump this remaster needed, especially since the studio had been wanting to do this for a long time now. I'll pop a link into the article in the description. So with that in mind, what has prompted this sudden change of heart from the studio? The tweet comes from a Cnet article, but looking through the Mass Effect Reddit page, we can also see there's been a change to org position raised as well. I'll pop a link to that in the description. The multiplayer is still a very active player base and we don't have any problems finding matches in our weekly hangout sessions, so I really hope it's something they consider. Well, as long as they don't improve the graphics too much. I don't think my poor old computer could take much more. Feel free to give the like a boom for that one. Moving on, we also have the first impressions from the big review sites. As early copies were only given out 2 days ago, which isn't enough time to do full reviews, the reviews in progress are looking quite favourable. Metacritic shows a PC score of 86 and on the Xbox an impressive 91. However, there are reports of bugs, with the game feeling like it is still a game from 2007. In the Metro they say, the artificial intelligence doesn't seem to have changed much at all, with the allies and the enemies still running around like headless chickens. Your own movement too seems skittish during combat, and the cover system is complete lottery as to whether it works or not. There's almost zero feedback when you hit your targets too, with enemies rarely recalling or giving you any indication they've been hit. We're not sure if that last point is a bug or not, but the full game is full of them. The unreliable cover system is the worst, but there's also a lot of minor animation and lighting glitches. Our Commander Shepard's hair has a tendency to glow different colours at random moments, and more than once we had interactive buttons not appear or get stuck behind scenery that resulted in restarting the game. Whether these get patched out or not remains to be seen. One other piece of good news though comes out of a Gamespot review, which is a work in progress. I'll link in the description below. It says, DLC is supposedly more seamlessly integrated into each game, with each now showing up during specific points in their respective game story as to tell a more cohesive narrative. I hope this is true, as previously I've needed to use triggering mods so that they activate at the best time in the game, the Arrival DLC for example. Nevertheless, all these points and more will be looked at in detail once my Origin account unlocks the game for me. Kinda wish I'd pre-ordered the physical copy now. To see the missing DLC Pinnacle Station, click the links on screen now. Big thank you to my patrons Nerdy Dude and Beverly. Don't forget to give it a boom on that like button, and I'll see you next time. Commander.